Do you think, are you like happy with the state of things in the UK? Would you say?
No.
Not just in the UK,
No.
but the whole world. And I think if you were to ask the same
happy.
question to anybody in the world, I don't think anybody would be happy with the state of their country or the way it's being run and the way the world
is in a terrible state.
Yeah.
Have you seen it like in a position like this in your lifetime?
No.
No.
I think everybody gets a bit nostalgic at times. Because sometimes, okay, we have children, but sometimes people's grandchildren want to know what it was like, you know. I mean, when I was a kid and you got up in the morning, it was the wireless that was on.
I think everything in the past was worse.
Jeez.
So I'm the complete reverse of that position. Probably to do with being homosexual and to do with being very poor. You know, if you lived in Britain in the 1970s, there was endless disorder all the time. And yet, of course, it's retro, it's all presented as wonderful, but it was absolutely appalling. I think that it goes in waves. I think for a whole period it was relatively quiet, and there's new waves of disorders and demonstrations and so on, for very good reasons. And I think we're entering an upward tick in disorder.
Well, global temperatures are on track to break another record this year.
We've got like 2 years now to turn the climate around.
We're just going to have a huge global mental health crisis.
Obviously with the policing bill, the border, people don't realise it yet. The thing is, it'll happen slowly. It'll happen like we've had to make it like health and safety.
It only takes this disaster, someone to do something. That the whole world is against. The inflation, the instability of the economy. The war in the Ukraine.
Oh no, it was supposed to be the war that would end all
realise how bad it's going to get. Really.
Everything seems to escalate so quickly now.
Well, I think all these protests, they're all getting a bit out of hand. Years ago, if you didn't agree with anything and you protested against it, it was all sort of peaceful. You had your placards and like the women at Greenham Common, but there was never the violence that there is now. Police and firemen and people who are trying to keep it peaceful, and they start throwing bricks and...
I don't like the way they're trying to do away with all our past history. I know we've had slavery and people have had statues erected to them and this, that and the other, but destroying them doesn't destroy the history. So why do they want to do it?
I think people defend their youths. They defend the world they grew up in. And they're not very reflective about how things have changed. You have to remember, I was brought up by people who'd lived through aerial bombardment. Everything was extremely disciplined, and you were expected to be disciplined. The whole nature of your life was. It was a kind of emotional violence, really, I think, that we were reared up in. The suppression of any consideration of subtlety of feeling That's what I mean by emotional violence. And we did live in that world, and that's not going to go away after a lifetime. It's not going to disappear.
There is that thing of nostalgia in the way that a previous generation will look at a future generation. And I think it kind of comes with a disconnect because they don't see... They've lived in a time that's like revolved around their ideas and views of that time. And like, I mean, that's probably one of the benefits of social media is that we can see so much more of the different causes going on around the world and how they're going on at a similar time and how they're all kind of connected slightly.
We weren't fully aware of what was going on in our world. We just had our friendship groups and did our social things other in sport or music and youth clubs.
We were just living our lives. We weren't
there wasn't so much turmoil in the world, I don't think, when
that we knew of.
That you knew of.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have constant phones that you could get any information off your phone.
It's the way that we interact
like the younger generation,
kicks off,
they are more aware
because it shapes and reshapes.
How have you, like, you've never personally liked sport, you don't care.
I think each generation
they
sees a
haven't
change.
really got
You kind of like desensitised to it all. Question has to be asked.
Obviously,
Is it change for the better?
When you're young, like us, this is a time where you're literally thinking, like, what am I going to do in life? Like, what do I want to, like, what are the basic things I kind of want to carry with me as I go on? And what's the way I want to kind of approach life?
Because you can sort of view the world in a lens that you're not fully in the world yet. So you can sort of view it as a bystander and critique it, because you're not in the adult world yet. So you can see it how it's being run by the current adults. And then maybe when you enter it, you realise there's more complexities and like it's not just that simple.
Your priorities are different as you get to middle age. You do want to conserve what you've worked hard for or not worked hard.
Value.
Yeah.
The things that you have when you're older obviously mean a lot more because, like you say, you've worked really hard for it, and you want to preserve it and protect it for your loved ones and who you're leaving behind.
Yeah.
The way that life is structured is specifically designed to suppress people. If you're struggling to pay bills, to pay for your kids to go to school, to pay for like food, you don't have the time to think about like changing the world, like big political movements, other people, because you've got to focus on yourself.
Which is intentional, like it's intended to make it so that these people can't make the changes. What I see with the other people that are doing like loads of activism is that the biggest obstacle is they're so tired and worn out.
There's waves that happen in history, and I think through history, through studying it, you can see the different patterns.
As the world opens up, you will see more that's wrong. So it's a perpetually receding future, isn't it?
I think it's a necessary kind of conflict because you have that overarching power that like suppresses people's rights, movements, like ways of life, and then you also get good big political pushes out of it. And I think that's just kind of like a repeating cycle that you're never going to get to a place where it's like, right, we've done it.
You think, oh, this is enough. And when you get enough, you want more. And people want more liberation. They want more of this, that and the other. And so I expect young people to continue to fight and cause trouble, right? And create uproar to make changes that they think are necessary.
Do you think it's just a cycle?
So I kind of hope that more people get involved, because then there's a bigger chance that like we'll like make a change if like enough people do. But I don't know, because I don't see that happening either. I'm realistic that what's happened since forever, that people don't care and that things will continue as they are, and that there might be a tiny bit of growth, but it'll be kind of performative. I'm realistic that that's probably what's just going to continue to happen until we lose the earth because of behaving like that, which will like that will happen, and it's probably all pointless even trying now. But yeah.
The Children's Society, they do annual surveys and have been doing for the past 10 years of the mental health of children and people in the UK and across Europe. But the absolutely shocking thing is that the happiness of young people in this country has declined year on year over the past decade. And we're at the absolute bottom of the league tables of all those European countries for children and young people's happiness and well-being. So yes, there is something we're doing really, really wrong in the UK. And it doesn't make me proud.
So it seems to me that it is very hard being a person. One reason is because we know we're going to die, and that's a very peculiar thing, right, if you think about it. And that's what's heroic about human beings. We all carry on as if it's not going to happen. It's fabulous. That's why I think we're heroic, you see. But I do think that, and I'd also say, people shouldn't worry about being happy. They should, the official line is you're supposed to be happy. Well, most of the time, most of us are not happy. And sometimes we are, and sometimes we are not. More often than not, we're not happy. But being unhappy is a perfectly reasonable condition and not something we should be anxious about. That's what I would say.